Welcome back. In today's episode, we are going to talk about how do we continue to create stability when there is so much around us that is rocking crazy, because we've had a lot going on. So welcome. I hope you join me. Hi, welcome to Soul Speak with Meg Michaelson. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for liking and sharing and rating and commenting. I appreciate that, and it does help. I love to know what people want to hear, if I should expand on something. So just to know, I really do appreciate any input. Or if you think, oh, that was not a good one, tell me that too. No, we have been in a really unsteady time. And I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. Around 2020, things have been in this rocky territory. The month of July and now the month of August, and we're in 2024, have been really nuts. But this isn't like the only time in history it's been this way. And it's not going to be the only time in history, because everything is a cycle. Everything is energy. So if you watch this in a couple of years and you're in the throes of it, it's still going to help. Now, creating stability, I talked about resiliency a couple episodes back, and creating stability while our whole environment seems to be unsteadily shaking. And that is the case right now. How do we continue to create that when we feel like we can't catch our breath? When we feel like, I don't even know what decision to make right now because it's so confusing. Well, we can, and it does take effort, and it is possible for all of us. We are in this time, as I said, of a lot of unsteadiness. And we are in a Mercury retrograde this month. I don't know if you know anything about astrology, but it is quite helpful to me. So I look up things that are going on in the astrological world. Is it like, makes sense. I can understand why this isn't working. So during this time, the past few weeks, and this is going to continue, of course, we have so much of that push-pull energy. There is this air of, I got to do something, but no answers are coming. I've got to do something, but no answers are coming. It's this push-pull within and around us. We feel we are meant to do something, but we don't have the answers. We don't know what we are supposed to do. And in a retrograde, which is this Mercury retrograde we're in now, that causes that anxiousness, because we feel that energy vibration, and we were in Leo time of fire. I got to do it. I know I'm supposed to do something. And yet things aren't working out. The things that I'm trying to line up are not lining up. Or if you're looking for whatever, a job or a place to live, or your relationship is struggling, just know that it is going on around you, not just within you. And that is part of that retrograde cycle. So the retrograde energy causes that anxiousness, especially now in Leo season, because we want to move forward. But like I said, we don't have any answers, and we're not even sure how we're supposed to move forward. Why? Because maybe we're not supposed to move forward. Maybe this is time to just gather all the nuts and wait until it's time. Find out, do more homework, do more research, pause. Have that reflection time. When we allow ourselves that helps us feel stronger. That helps build that resiliency, where we don't allow ourselves to get pushed into that force when it's really not time to make that decision. Because the more we allow ourselves to get pushed into that force energy, I've got to do something, I have to make the decision now, that starts to chip away at our self-esteem. We start to doubt ourselves. So when we are feeling this push-pull, sometimes the best strategy is to just step back and do nothing. I've talked about this in another episode, but this came up again this week with a client. Do you remember, I don't know, some of this audience might be too young, but the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? They were drinking bubbles in the factory and they started to float. And above them was this ceiling fan. It was Charlie and his grandpa. And they were getting really close to the ceiling fan and they were starting to panic. And then they started to belch, and that brought them down. Well, I love that. I love that scene, but it's been popping up in my memory. Why? Because that's the energy we're in right now. It's that energy of things are moving fast and I want to go a certain way, but maybe I'm not supposed to go that way, or maybe I'm just going to keep pushing even though everything is telling me to slow down. When they were belching, they got back down to earth. So if you want to belch, go ahead and belch to get grounded. But any other tools you can use to get grounded. How do we get grounded? That's such a big word. By being present, by using our five senses, by staying in the moment, by looking at the sky, by looking at the trees, by smelling things, by looking at the beauty or petting your dog or making eye contact with someone and really staying in that moment. That gets us back to earth so we do not get hit by a ceiling fan. Get back into the body. And that really strengthens from within when the outside world feels chaotic. We need that. We really need that time. And now we make better decisions. And now we feel like we can handle more because we are building much stronger trust with ourselves. Otherwise, when we allow ourselves to move forward too fast and we don't have all the answers, there becomes a wrestling match within each of us. We're trying to anticipate what's coming up. What's next? How will this work out? That internal wrestling match that we can do as humans can really do not only a challenging number on our physical, but also our mental energy. It hurts the relationships around us. It hurts our connection to our organs. Our body needs air, not fight or flight all the time. Fight or flight is really hard. And the more we're in that internal wrestling match, it can either cause us to be depressed and hopeless, or it can cause us to be anxious. So either way, neither of those are good for us. Yep, we're going to feel that way sometimes, but we don't want to live that way. We want to live being more calm and present. And when we are allowing that internal wrestling match, that push-pull, that overthinking, doubting our decisions, feeling like we have to rush all the time, that really gets in the way of the goodness. That gets in the way of our connection to spirit, our intuition, because it's always right there and accessible. However, when we are in an anxiety and fight or flight or depression, it's really hard to access that. It's easy for us to not even know it's there. And so when we're in this time of more great unknown energy, August has been a lot of unknown energy with this retrograde. There's just a lot of things that we are feeling uncomfortable with. And it's been almost a month. This is where we are revisiting. So July, the end of July, August has been a time for us to revisit. And I really like retrograde time in some ways, not in all ways, because sometimes it is a pain in the ass. But there are pieces of it that are really good because we are revisiting something from the past or multiple things from the past. So the end of July and most of August, we've been in this revisit time. What do we have to look at differently this time? People come back from the past, and that can be a brief moment, or it can be someone that was significant comes back. Why? Because maybe something didn't go well the first time, and now we get to redo it. Maybe there was a disempowerment on your part or the other person's part. Or maybe they came back because they'd really like to do a different shift in how your relationship went. There's an internal push there for somebody following our intuition. Or maybe they're to help us learn that there's a difference within us or a difference within them, that people can change if we allow ourselves to, and if we allow ourselves to see someone differently. However, remember, do this with eyes wide open. So stay in clarity. A woman that I know, she has been divorced for a while, and someone came back from the past, and she's been angry at her husband for quite some time. Someone in his family came back to just check in on her, and she hadn't heard from her in a long time, and talk with her about how she's doing, and then also talk about the ex-husband and the struggle he's having within because he's quite pushy. And she asked this woman to see the ex-husband with eyes of compassion instead of so much anger. That's what we get to do. That was during a retrograde. That old person, and she's not old, coming back, the person we used to know, because maybe it's time for us to put down our sword. So when these things are surfacing, people from the past or a pattern we've done, a situation we've done that has hurt us, that has not caused us to feel stronger, that has not caused us to feel more resilient. We get to have this reflection time to redo, to do it differently. And like I said, sometimes it's the same people, or maybe it's different players, but there's a theme, a same situation. Notice if you've been in that in the past few weeks. And now notice, did I handle it the same or did I handle it differently? And if you handled it the same, try not to go into shame. Just understand that we're here to grow and learn. And if you handled it differently, kudos to you, because that's why these things come back in, because there's a little more change within us that it's time for. And there's also time for us to become a little more awake. So can we look at what we did before when we're presented with a similar situation, same person, or we feel like, God, this is a lot like the past? Can we say, did I do it healthy last time? And if not, how could I do it healthier this time? Well, if I rush in, I'm going to lose my strength. Unless there's actually a fire in the home, we don't have to rush in. There's not really that much crisis. We just feel that crisis. So if we allow ourselves to pause, step back, reflect, this feels similar. Now, how can I do it different? Because maybe I don't feel so good about how I did it like that the first time. And during this time where we feel so much push-pull and so much messy and unknown, we get to really look at our patterns. So what have my patterns been? If things don't go my way, or if someone doesn't listen to me, if I don't feel heard, how am I running my anger? Who intimidates me? Those are things to start to look at, again, with compassion and kindness, not so much heavy judgment, with wonder and curiosity, not so much heavy judgment. Why? Because that's where the learning happens. When we allow ourselves to be in wonder and curiosity, not heavy judgment, we are opening up to becoming more awake. We're looking with clear eyes. And then we might get those ahas. How am I supposed to do this different this time? It's amazing how that happens. We want to be eyes wide open. Now, I've said this before, I am a recovering pleaser. And wow, during this month, this has absolutely been in my face in multiple ways. And I'm still in it this week of noticing my pleaser, noticing how I would want to react historically, and having that internal battle of, I don't want to respond that way this time. And it doesn't feel comfortable. Our body's always going to talk. So when you're looking at a past pattern and you're trying to change it to become stronger within, pay attention to the physical body. It is going to tell you. If you feel the tightness in your throat or the gut, you're going to say yes to someone when really you want to say no, or you don't have time, or they want your money and you don't have the resources. Whatever it is, pay attention to the body and pause. And try not to do something we're going to be angry or resentful for. So as a recovering pleaser, 100%, I have built up more strength by pausing before I react, by not saying yes when I really have to say no, by being clear with myself about what I can do and what is going to hurt me if I say yes. And it's been family, work, friendships. And it takes me a moment to notice when I'm in that pleaser energy. Because as a pleaser, right there, we just want to go right fast and answer that question. Yep, say yes, I can do it. I can do a million things. And yet, is that the best pattern? So what is your pattern? It's coming in to help you find more strength, not to make you feel bad about yourself, not to make you feel like a failure, but to really be kind to yourself, be in compassion to yourself and say, this is a pattern. I want to do it different this time. Every time we have an old situation surface, we are being given that opportunity to either do it different or stay with that pattern. And remember, it doesn't matter how many times you've done the new thing, it might come back one more time, only a little bit higher stakes this time. Or maybe it's just a nuance because we're still growing. We're still flossing out the old. It takes a lifetime. And all that time, we want to notice all of the times that we did really honor ourselves while honoring other people. And we can be, again, more awake. I'm more awake now than I was 5 years ago. And I can handle more with courage now than I did 5 years ago. And it's still a journey. There's still times when life feels a little too tough. And when we're in that, we get to say, is this a moment? Can I pull back? What do I need to do for me right now? What do I need to do so I can feel stronger, not overwhelmed? We build stronger resiliency so we can handle all of this external chaos, because there is a lot and it's going to continue, by allowing ourselves to be in compassion towards self, compassion toward others, not pity, not where we just climb in bed and don't want to get out, but this is why I'm reacting this way. Oh, this is why I feel this way. Why? Because I'm tired, because I've been saying yes too much, because there's too many demands on me, whatever it is. Just notice and be in compassion. And that woman I talked about a bit ago, who had a bitter divorce and anger towards her ex for quite some time, when a family member of his came back in to talk with her, she was opening up to the concept of compassion. Compassion that doesn't mean she wants him back or they should be back together. This is, we get to have this and this. Doesn't mean because I'm going to be in compassion, I'm okaying everything they ever did. No, two different things. However, when we are allowing ourselves to see someone in 360 degrees and not 45 degrees, they're much bigger than their tyrant, or they're much bigger than their selfishness, or they're much bigger than their unfaithfulness. We want to look at them with the whole lens, see clearly. Why? Because that strengthens us. We're more awake now. We don't take everything so personally. We are stronger when we see the truth. And if we are not seeing the truth, that person still holds our power. So this woman had a beautiful shift recently. She started seeing her former spouse as a whole person. And then he's not so intimidating. And then she's not so angry. And then she can make clearer decisions. So it's really not about her former spouse. It's about her relationship with herself. Now she becomes stronger. Now she becomes more resilient. So remind ourselves that when it's time to move forward, we're not forgiving someone for them, maybe, but we're really forgiving them for us, or seeing them clearly for us. The beautiful part about August, where we are now, when someone comes back in, we get to decide, am I going to keep tripping over the same rock, or am I going to do it different? Can I see it with a clearer vision now? That's our choice. We always have choice. And the more we recognize that we have choice, the greater our strength and resiliency grows. So during this time, and we still have a few more days of August, and it's going to, of course, go into September. It doesn't just end in August. What's one thing that I really want to look at? One thing I want to change? One pattern I really am tired of doing? Where do I feel tired about it? Or what have I been putting off? Because when we are doing that same pattern, or when we are putting something off, it causes that angst. Pause and calm. We get to shift the internal angst by pausing and calming and recognizing I have a lot of choice within my control. Then things start to shift on the outside as well. Things become a little easier because we're handling it so much calmer. We have a choice always about staying awake with every experience, that highest potential energy. Every choice leads us to being more awake or more cloudy, leads us to becoming more resilient or less empowered. I get into the truth or I turn away from the truth. I feel like I have to help everybody. That's not the truth, but that was my old truth. Or I can start to let go of that and do what I can do. And the more we do that, the more we wake up and tell ourselves the truth, the more our pain diminishes. the better sleep we have most nights. Because even though it feels tough in the moment, I promise you the pain does diminish the more we are clear and true and awake with ourselves. So a few questions to ask yourselves during this time, and this is going to continue, like I said. Just ask yourself, what am I feeling? And can I give myself permission to feel my feelings? What does this feeling mean to me? Is it from the past or is it truly from now? What do I need to do to work through this so I can get into the truth? And do I need something from others? I am not weak for asking for help. That shows my strength in being vulnerable. I am not weak for asking for help. That shows my strength in being vulnerable. So we really want to be paying attention to those old patterns, and are they still getting in our way? What can I do to feel a shift in how I'm feeling? So instead of feeling overwhelmed, I can feel empowered. I can feel like I can do this. What stories am I telling myself? And then asking for help or asking others if they need help. It does really help us if we get out of our bubble of just being concerned with our own problems. And another way to develop more strength is prioritize your well-being, being present to self. It is important to make time every day to take care of yourself. Not say, I don't have time and my back's killing me and I'm not breathing and I'm not eating well. That's an old story. Pay attention to that. So when you're moving into new thoughts, remember, it makes an impact when we are present to it. It makes an impact when we're saying our new thought patterns with being present. By using the 5 senses, by breathing, by touching our finger pads together, thumb to finger, and taking the breath. We want to get the new thought in the body, not just drifting through our head and then thinking of something else. I am strong even on the days I don't feel like I am. What if that was an affirmation we used? I'm strong even on the days I don't feel like I am. How do I know that? Because I've gotten this far. So I've done a lot of cool stuff already. I've done a lot of good stuff in my lifetime. We also want to tell ourselves, I have the tools I need. If I pause and breathe, I can access those tools that will help me and the people that are there to help me. But I got to pause and breathe first. Got to get present into my being. That is truly some of the ways we can navigate this chaos energy. And that's going to just continue maybe another year or 5, who knows. But as we move through these shifts in our timing, ask yourself what you want. Do I want to feel stronger? Do I want to feel like I can take care of the things and go after my dreams? We have to know if we want that or not. That's a first step. And finding beauty every single day, finding laughter, finding beauty. We don't have to be stuck in a stressful situation and think, I have to stay in this mindset until I solve it. It's really hard to solve when we're in that mindset. It might actually be easier to solve if we allow ourselves to find beauty, if we allow ourselves to be present, if we allow ourselves to take care of ourselves. I wish you a very beautiful week, and I hope you find some peace and calm and laughter and really good people to hang with. I look forward to connecting with you next week. Hey listeners, thank you so much for being part of the Soul Speak world. I really appreciate that. And if you're willing, and if you find this of value, would you please follow on any of the platforms you're listening to, whether that's Apple or Spotify or Google or any of the platforms. And of course, I love the ratings if you find this valuable. You can also follow me on YouTube and like and share, and all of that really makes a difference. Appreciate your participation. And of course, I really appreciate you being part of this world.